Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Angie.
And together we are TwinFinity.
We are Twin Flames, back with another 11 video. As you can see behind us, we have an 11. Hopefully it looks like an 11. That's my feeble attempt.
Actually, it's an 11/11.
That's right.
Because it's November's 11 video.
Yes.
And for those of you who don't want to zoom in and see our fancy red dots, they're actually red poppies. Yes.
Just trying to be creative.
And also, this is going to be a little bit of a challenging video. We're just going to take it the way that it comes to us. We're totally off base on our timing. I had to work late today. We want to do our video today. So, it is going to turn dark as we go. I've got my fancy dancy little flashlight all ready to go. And I got my toque on because we have snow on the ground and it's daylight. When it turns dark, it's not going to be warm out anymore.
It's not really warm out now.
Not that it's warm out to begin with. So, this is going to be another one of our winging it videos.
Oh, we always have adventures. Why stop now?
And we have lots of props. Well, okay, more props than we would normally have. And that's not airplane props like propellers. These are actually props, like as in stage stuff.
Oh boy.
Okay, yeah, we're ready. So anyway, our theme of the month, our title for this video is Common Misconceptions About the Twin Flame Journey.
And before we get started in that, I should also mention, as I like to always, if you're not familiar with our 11 videos, if this is the first one you've ever seen, we'll link above the other ones we have done. We have a whole playlist. This is our 10th video on the 11s. So, you'd think it would be our 11th since it's the 11th month, but whatever. It all works the way it's supposed to.
We skipped January so that we could do our last video, the 11th video in the 12th month. Okay, we skipped January. I'll just leave it at that.
So anyway, the link will be above if you are not familiar with the other ones and want to watch those. For those of you that know our 11 videos, this is the next one. So, should we get into our points?
Okay, let's do that. Point number 1, I can read without my flashlight.
For now.
It is, each twin is half a soul, and together they make one soul. Boy, that is a really hard one because it's so easy to say that you're one soul and each one of you carries half of it, but it's the thought that you start out as one soul, and when that soul divides, much like identical twins in our real lives, they are two operating individual people who each have their own soul. It's just identical halves that started out from a singular soul.
And I've got a diagram that I'm going to use for those of you that have watched our question and answer videos that come way up close for this. This I showed in a question and answer video way long time ago. As you can see from this is in my journal. This was done February 28th of 2017. So it's been a while. So how this works, if you can imagine God, source, all that is, universe, whatever term you like to call it, is an energy. It's an energy of everything. That's what all these little different symbols represent. And as souls, we are parts of the all, the source, the universe, God, creator, again, whatever you prefer to call it. So what we have done is just broken into little pieces to make souls. What a twin flame is, as down at the bottom here, is you can see it's one soul with certain aspects of the all that has simply split into two. So you have the identical makeup, but that doesn't mean you're half a soul each. You're still a full soul each, much like Rob said in terms of identical twins. They're still two whole people. They're not half people. So if you can read down at the bottom, it might be kind of small. I'll read it here for you as well. Rob's doing our demo flashlighting. So it says you're the same energetic makeup in each of you. Each soul must develop into their own whole. And so you split into the masculine and feminine energies, but that doesn't again mean that you're half of a soul. And you come together and you mirror each other to clear and heal unhealed pieces. And then once both of you have healed enough and balanced enough, you come back together physically and merge energetically. So then you're still individual souls, but you sort of merge as well to be back to your one full soul again. So it's quite a fascinating connection how this works. And that's why it's different from, would be soul mates. So they're different souls than you, as you can see. But a twin flame is the same soul, just split.
So when we talk about coming together, it's not like taking two halves of a soul and creating one soul. It's bringing two halves that have already split together so that the two souls are a mirror of the original soul.
Right. Yes.
So, yeah, there's going to be people who are going to disagree with that on the basis of semantics. And I'm actually all good at that with that, because I've had people question me between the difference between twin flames and twin souls and what's a Blu-ray twin flame. It's all, they're all have their own styles of definitions, and I'd like to admit that there's all sorts of different interpretations. If your interpretation of what a twin flame is, or any of the other above, is different than ours, don't worry about that. We're not here to call anyone out saying that your interpretation is wrong.
Totally.
It's just different, but it's actually very important for people to know that if you have an interpretation that works for you, that you completely believe in, don't be afraid to still use it, just because we've maybe said something that's different.
And the reason we wanted to bring this up is going to elaborate in point number 2, which is
down here.
You need your twin flame in order to be and feel complete.
That's point number 2. That's misconception number 2. Because you are your own soul, you don't need your twin flame in order to be or feel complete. Oftentimes, though, if you can be with your twin flame, you then don't have to try so hard to understand where the other half of that energy is. It's because it's right beside you. I'm actually doing the talking here when Angie was going to do the talking, and Angie is doing some preparation that I was going to do.
That's okay. We plan and then we go with the flow. Now, before we show these, I wanted to just reiterate, again, the reason why point number 1 was very important to first elaborate on and to then explain point number 2 is that so many people fear that they're half a soul, and without their twin flame, they're nothing, and they don't feel complete. And the point of this journey is that you must feel complete within and of yourself, by yourself, and then you can bring in your twin flame. If you feel like you're half a soul and you need them to complete you, it's going to be a real struggle on this journey, because you're always going to feel like you're incomplete, even if you are with them. You must find the completeness inside, and this is a good demo of that. So, for example, the yin and the yang, hopefully these will show up well, maybe not. We'll try it this way. So, one of you always splits into the feminine energy, and one twin splits into the masculine energy. The feminine energy, the yin, as you can see, still has her own light. She is her own source. So she does not need somebody else, whether it's her twin flame or anybody else, to complete her. She must find completeness, wholeness, and light all in of herself. So she might be shaped differently. Doesn't matter though. She is still full light source all by herself, as is her counterpart,
the yang. It's very, very similar. You've got your own soul right here. These are fancy little candles. Love these things. They're great for explaining stuff. That candle is your soul. It is burning. It is your own entity.
And your own flame. So that's why twin flames are called twin flames. Some people also like to use the word twin souls. Same thing in our opinion. But we like twin flames. Doesn't matter. But as you can see, you are each your own flame. So when you come together, you are a twin flame.
You're going to have to move your fingers. There we are.
So when you come together,
these things nicely nest together as yin and yang.
And that doesn't mean they complete each other. It means they complement each other. So you must find your own balance of yin and yang within you, and then as your twin does the same, you can then merge together and blend both of your yins, both of your yangs together as a complement. So it's not, again, about complete each other, it's about complementing each other. So, beautiful little demo. Do you want me to take that now?
We have been waiting a long time to do something like this with these.
Well, maybe use these in a question and answer video too, where you can see them better indoors when it's not dark out.
When it's not dark. I'll see if I put a little light on it. I don't think it's going to help much. All it's going to do is white them out.
Yeah, that's okay.
Our light is just crazy. Aww. Don't start your gloves on fire.
I just blew out our lights.
Okay.
We're flameless now.
We're flameless.
All right, so point number 3.
Point number 3. Oh, yes. This is another one that we get fielded with a lot. It shows up a lot in questions. As twin flames, you must look alike and have the same life path and same astrology, etc.
Right. Yeah, so people often think, well, if you're twin flames, you have to look alike. And that is not always the case, because remember, you're the same energetic soul makeup, but that doesn't mean you have to be the same physical body makeup. Each soul, before it comes into physical form, chooses its body for its own reasons and for its own growth and purposes. So just because you're twin flames, you might choose very different looking bodies for your own purposes, your own growth. Same with astrology. You might be born on different days, different times, have different houses and different placements and all of that for your own soul growth. Even though you're one soul split in two, you're still working on your own things for your own purposes. So you don't necessarily have to have the same life path number, the same astrology. We coincidentally are both fire signs, but that doesn't have to be the case. You don't have to be born on the same day or in the same month or in the same astrology period. Not at all.
Yes, Angie is a March. I'm an August. It's very, very different. Things can be very different. And one thing that I carry as a strong personal opinion that is not necessarily what a lot of people think about, or a lot of people even accept, is I have a belief that the soul has split into twin flames so that it can absorb more experiences. And there would be, well, in my opinion, little point to have those experiences all be shared from the same point of view, because then there would be less diversity in how those experiences have come about.
Right.
So if you have different astrology, different body, different makeup, even born at different times, for example, I'm 10 years ahead of Angie, that has allowed the soul to have a greater range of how it experiences things. So to have a lot of similarity would almost defeat the thought of why the soul became a twin flame to begin with. So as much differences as possible would give as much opportunity as possible. So I'm good with having many, many differences between individual twin flames.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Did we have anything more on that?
I don't think so. That was number...
Our little cheat notes are getting really hard to read because it's getting dark.
Well, you could probably keep your flashlight on now.
I'm just about there. I almost can't read without it now. Oh, and lots of notes. Angie went to the effort of making lots of notes on this one, because this is a, I wouldn't want to call it a delicate video, but it's tough because you want to try to get everything right. And right underneath the staple is a word. I believe it's the word be.
Yes.
Okay.
Real life, you just can't fake it. It just is what it is. Hey, your flashlight works well. I'll read it.
Point number 4, I've got it.
Okay.
Twin flame couples must be opposite genders / male, female. That is the misconception. The clarity, I'll let you read.
So the clarity is, of course, I'm going to read my notes, even though I just wrote these. I already forget because I'm like in the middle of trying to explain everything. Yes, so of course, you're masculine and feminine energies, but that doesn't mean you have to be in male and female bodies. Remember, the masculine energy can be housed in the female body and vice versa. So it's just depending on who carries what dominant energy. You might be a male and female in twin flame couple, but it's the male energy or the male person that carries more of the female energy and vice versa. You could very well be two females where one of you is more dominantly the masculine energy and one is more dominantly the feminine energy. Or you can be two males, two male couples, where one again is more the feminine energy and one is more the masculine energy. So some people think you have to be male and female only.
Just a moment.
This does not bode well. We just got our low power notice on our phone because it's cold. So we're going to see how this all goes. Anyway, we'll carry on.
So anyway, it's not about the bodies.
Right.
It's about the energies. It's about putting a gender label on the energies. That's what we've come to on this, but
yes,
it has nothing to do with the bodies whatsoever. Especially in this day and age where there's gender modification going on through the medical industry.
Yeah.
It all doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's the energy, not the body.
And just to clarify, I know this point, some of these points might be kind of triggering for people, and we honor that. If you're triggered by some of these points, maybe just go within and go, why is this triggering me? I know some people really struggle with, no, you can't have two people of the same sex be in union. That's wrong. If that's how you feel, that's okay. Honor that. But also we're asking honor other people, because we know some twin flames who are both the feminine or female bodies. And so we know it happens, but everybody's at their own place. So if that doesn't resonate with you, that is okay. Like people say, take what resonates, leave the rest.
I actually think that some of the non-traditional, I'd call them, relationships that are actually becoming very traditional nowadays, really, they're actually, for me, a little more exciting because I get to see things from a different angle. People get to experience things differently because of how their perceptions have also come across too. So I actually find it quite exciting when we find, to use the term again, non-traditional relationships. It's interesting to hear what they've learned and how they've learned it. In many cases, it's nearly identical to how the traditional relationships have been anyway.
Yep.
It's quite fun.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of fun with that.
Totally.
Point number 5.
You have to do all of your healing work before you can come into physical union with your twin flame. We get questions on this a lot. People are like, I'm doing my work, but my twin isn't, and how are we going to come into union? Because how are we ever going to finish our healing work? And so the clarity on that is that, remember, you are eternal soul beings. And as eternal soul beings, we are always growing, we are always healing, we are always learning. So there's just no possible way you could ever finish all of your healing work, all of your growing work, and you don't have to. We're still doing work, we're still growing, we're still learning, even though we're in union. So the work doesn't stop just because you get to union, and you don't have to complete your work to get to union.
I believe that we've been healing for many lifetimes.
Absolutely.
And with learning comes more different perspectives. And those different perspectives, as they clash with previous learnings, that's what becomes healing. But eventually you have to come to terms with what you're learning to get on with the healing, to allow more learning, which allows more clashes, to use the word again. And another thought that I have with this, and this may also be triggering for some people, but that's fine. Archangels still liaison with Creator because they are still learning, and therefore they are still going through their own healings. So as a soul that is here doing its own learning and is living to learn, I expect to be healing all the time. I expect to be learning all the time. I expect to be getting triggered all the time.
All the time, yep. It's just you learn how to do it quicker, easier, smoother, the more you've balanced and the more you've come into your own internal union.
Okay.
Number 6.
Point number 6. Life will be perfect / easy / always happy once you are in union. with your twin flame.
Is that true?
For the most part, it's nicer. For the most part, it's better. Perfect? Of course it's not going to be perfect.
No.
We're surrounded by 3D energy. There's the end of perfection. Sorry about that. Not picking on 3D because 3D has lots of wonderful things in it. But yes, it's a good goal to get to. Welcome to my runny nose. It's winter and it's cold out. But is it? I like to use the word better. Perfection is something I don't worry about. I like to use the term near perfect because as soon as you define perfect, you find something better. So near perfect is as close as I like to try to profess to.
But, and while it is pretty darn good being in union, not even going to deny that one bit, what we want to clarify is that so many people think as soon as I get to union, my life is going to be so happy and I'm going to be at peace and I'm going to feel joy. And it's like, oh, wait, put the brakes on. You got to feel that before you get to union, because union isn't the be-all, end-all. Your internal connection with yourself is the be-all, end-all. And if you don't feel happy before union, you're not going to feel happy afterwards.
And just to clarify on all this perfection and happiness and everything, I have never been so happy as now that I'm in union. This is fantastic. Yes, there's still a lot more work to go, a lot more learning to do, a lot more perfection to try to work with. But you know, it's a great place to be. But it's a springboard to the next bit of learning, and learning isn't always a happy place. It isn't always perfect.
That contrast, right? You need the contrast, and you still have contrast even in union.
And sometimes the contrast that you just mentioned, when you reach an extreme of one side, sometimes the contrast is pretty darn rough on the other side to balance off this closer to perfection. So. Yes. If you're not in union, sometimes your swings are this far between the perfection that you know and the contrast that you receive. If you get a greater perfection, there can be a deeper contrast. So sometimes it's rougher and harder. And that's what a lot of people feel, I believe, when they're not in union but close to being in union. It really hurts a lot because you're so close to having the other end, the in-union contrast. So that's where perfection sometimes invites a deeper lack of perfection. So we urge the caution, but at the same time, if you have a chance to get in union, absolutely do so. It's fantastic. It really is.
Where are we at?
Number 7.
Number 7. Oh, yes. This is a good misconception. The person who is aware of the connection is more advanced spiritually. In other words, those that are awake and watching the videos and know about twin flames, there's often a misconception that they are the better ones, the awake ones, the more advanced ones, and their twin who is asleep is really not got it at all.
Sometimes it's the one that's asleep that wakes up very well rested and is able to spring forward at an alarming rate. And that doesn't, just because a person isn't expressing how advanced they are, doesn't mean that they don't have that advancement. It could be because they haven't learned how to express it. And if they have an awakening, sometimes they can express where they're at much better and realize where they're at much better, and sometimes that can be ahead of the person who is expressing at their maximum known rate already. So if a person doesn't appear to be as awake or as aware, it could be a point of expression, not necessarily a point of where they're really at in their knowledge.
And remember, because you are connected, as we go from that diagram from the second or the first point, you're the same energy split into two. That means you're always working together in conjunction, even if you can't see it. So you're much like a ladder. So one of you can be here, The next one is then raising up and pulling, and then the next one you help the next one pull up, and then they take a step above, and that helps you go up, and then you take a step above, and then you keep going like this.
Low battery again, don't worry. we probably doesn't even show up as anything except us
No,
just touching
it
the screen.
doesn't, yeah. So you're always working in conjunction, even if you can't see that in your 3D reality. But you are always working together, and I loved how you said the asleep one might wake up and go poof and just know all so much. That, if you are not familiar with our story, we'll try and remember to link the video of when Rob woke up, and that's why this day, 11/11, November 11th, is a very significant celebratory day for us. This was the day in 2014 that Rob woke up. And I had not told him anything about twin flames, and without him doing any research, reading, Googling, nothing, he started telling me stuff, and it was brilliant. So he woke up and just went, aha, and his soul knew just as much as I did. I'd been studying twin flames for 1.5 years at that point. He hadn't studied a thing, and he was telling me stuff and teaching me stuff. So remember that just because you're the awake one, it doesn't necessarily mean you're any more advanced than your twin flame. They are just as advanced, just as connected. They are just doing things in a different way than maybe you understand or can see at this point.
And also, and just another quick point of view on this, sometimes one person's awakeness or awareness is not really understood by the other person, so it's misconceived as being lesser. Angie and I are actually very different in our spirituality. As much as we have things in common, I think we actually have more differences. We're more mirrors from an opposing point of view. And so therefore we get to learn a lot from each other because we have so many differences. Our similarities are wonderful, and our differences are very fulfilling because it gives us such a broad range of understanding.
Totally.
So don't underestimate what your twin knows. It might be just something you don't understand, therefore you don't perceive it as being a knowledge.
Right.
Okay, I gotta take the flashlight off of us a little bit. We're gonna go to point number 8. Okay, somebody...
Flip that way, there we go.
Fingers freezing. It's dark out, temperature dropping quickly.
Number 8, the twin that is awake and aware of the connection does all the work and is the only one who cares about the connection.
Oh boy.
We get that one as well quite often in comments and questions from people.
I've done this and I have done that, and my twin is busy sitting at home watching football doing nothing.
Having a great old life, and I'm doing all the work. And I am not judging anybody saying that at all, because I will be very honest in saying I felt the very same way in my connection until Rob and I came.
So anyway, welcome back from the interruption. Of course, as we were attempting to predict, our phone decided it was out of battery power.
Because it was too cold.
That's really what it was. Is there was actually lots of power in the battery. It just got too cold for the battery to actually give the phone enough power to keep running.
Yes.
So we've had a quick recharge.
Yes.
We're back up to where we started, but it's also colder out, so it isn't going to last as long.
But that's okay. We don't have many points to go.
So we were just at the point where Angie was talking about understanding why people would feel like they're doing all the work and the twin is sitting at home doing nothing.
Yes, and as I was about to say when I was rudely cut off by the phone, is I used to feel much the same way until Rob and I came back into union, and I started to understand that he did a ton of work himself, just in a very different way that I did. I mean, I had done a lot of work over the years in healing and growing with courses and classes and counseling and Reiki appointments and you name it, I did it, reading a bunch of books, and Rob didn't do any of that. But that didn't mean at all that he wasn't doing work. He just did work in a very different way than me.
And it's also important to try to remember, because we hear this, again, as much as we hear the myth, we also hear other people's truth as well, where as they're learning, their twin is also learning through the connection.
Totally.
And sometimes it might not be about learning hard material. It might just be learning to be curious. So, and a little bit of curiosity doesn't necessarily create learning in a direction that matters, but in many cases it does. It just might not matter in a direction that's the same direction as the person who's doing most of the learning they think that they're doing by themselves. So it still works. It still works. The connection still does some work, but also, again, if you're not with someone, you don't know what they know, which also means you don't know what they're learning. So just even if it's about giving a little bit of positive energy instead of sending negative energy, just maybe have some faith that there's something happening either right in 5D or even lower in 3D that actually still matters.
Yes.
It's all, and it also helps to not be staying focused on what is making you nervous or upset about them not learning. I encourage that just because you can't see it happening doesn't mean it isn't happening.
Right. And I also wanted to elaborate on that. Often what will happen with twin flames is you go through a separation period. You've either triggered each other or just need time apart to do your own growing and healing. And then you come back for a bit. And it might be for a very quick bit. It might just be for a phone call or a text or a coffee meeting or a whatever. But what's happening in those times is you're exchanging energy. It's almost like on an energetic level, you're sharing, okay, this is the growth that I've done, this is the growth that I've done, and then you switch codes and keys with each other so that the other one can then work with what you've learned, and vice versa. You can work with what they've learned. And as we've talked about many times before, one of you is often what's called the matrix twin, the 3D twin. The other one is the spiritual twin or the 5D twin. So what happens when you each do your work, and of course you do your work differently, which is why it looks like one isn't doing the work when they are, it's because the 3D matrix twin does their work very differently, and as does the 5D spiritual twin. But when you come together or reconnect in any sort of a way, it can even be in dreams if you're not, connecting physically in person, you're sharing what you've learned, you're exchanging that energy. So the 3D twin is giving you some 3D energy to help you balance your 3D self, and you're giving them some of your 5D energy to help them balance and raise up so that you can more come into harmonious balance together and also separately. So you get some of their energy, they get some of yours, and then you're working constantly together. So just a reminder that yes, you always are working together. It's kind of like that ladder effect again. Each one of you heals a piece and then it pulls the other one up. Then the other one heals a piece and it pulls them up. So you're always working together even if it doesn't look like it.
That was really technical. I'm not going to add to that.
Okay.
Not at all. Okay, I can't compete. Sorry. Next question.
No competition, only complimentation.
Yes. You've been complimented.
So point number 9
is no one will understand the struggles and challenges of your journey.
How many of us have felt that on this journey? It's like nobody gets this. You feel like you're a foreign alien on this planet because this connection is so unique that even other twin flames, you feel like nobody's going to understand me.
No one could be going through what I'm going through. I've never heard of anyone going through this before.
And this is actually one of the biggest reasons we do question and answer videos, is because if you have a question or you're going through something, somebody else is as well. And when one person has a question, it benefits many other people. So it's very common to think, well, God, nobody's ever going to understand what I'm going through. But yet when you hear, when people watch our question and answer videos, they're like, thank God somebody else asked that question. I had that same question, or I'm going through that same thing.
And with that thought, because you understand the question, and it could be a question that you'd write yourself, that means that someone else is going through a very similar journey. There is empathy out there for this journey. There's lots of people that are having similar struggles. Now, somebody occasionally does have something that is purely unique within their journey, but the journeys themselves all have, I haven't heard of a journey that's completely singular on its own. They all have some foundations that are very, very similar.
Totally.
We have participated in numerous workshops where we've gone to, let's say, Boston or Chicago, or the one we Banff, the one we hosted ourselves, and other people came to our part of the world. And as much as the facilitator, the people who are there to answer questions, we get together a small group of facilitators each time. Sometimes we've been the facilitators, sometimes we've just been participants ourselves. The facilitators are helping answer.
Attempt number 3.
Continuing on from what I was saying about the facilitators are answering questions as best they can because they fielded the questions before. It's interesting to watch what happens when we take lunch breaks or take breaks just to have a chance to get up and walk around, because these workshops, they last 6, 7, 8 hours during the day. You need breaks. The people who are there as attendees to these workshops will get together in their own groups, and there will be deep conversations going on, people helping each other just as much as the facilitators are helping.
Yeah.
Sometimes, as facilitators, when we're listening to the conversations that are going on as people are standing around mingling, having chats, we'll sometimes even delay starting the formalities of getting back into the workshop, because the conversations that are going on are just as beneficial to the people who are having the conversations as getting back into the workshop would be. So yeah, the workshops are fantastic for letting people who are going through these events at the same or similar times, or have just gone through, people are cross-checking notes all over the place.
Yeah.
And for that reason, there is many commonalities that we get to see in these journeys. And not saying that each journey doesn't have its own flavor, but when you have a chance to talk with other people who are on the journey, it's really, really helpful, because people do have advice without having the experience of having fielded questions, because their journeys have had the similar struggles along the way.
Yes. And I will even add, you may have friends that aren't twin flames that you can still talk to. I know some people say, I can't talk to any about this. They'd all think I'm weird or crazy or whatever. But I've been blessed to have some really special friends who are not twin flames, who don't understand the journey, but yet they have supported me through it. Again, you may know our journey. We were connecting long before we knew anything about twin flames, long before there was anything on the internet about twin flames, because the internet was barely even out and real at the point when Rob and I first met. But I had friends who are, amazingly enough, still are friends, support us back then, and helped us in ways that we have still found incredibly beneficial. And as I say, they're not twin flames. So just know that just because you're on a unique journey, it doesn't mean that there aren't people there that can't understand you and can't help guide you and support you. If you are able to just offer a little tiny piece sometimes to somebody who's like, hey, what's going on? Trust that they might be able to have an open mind and support you in ways that you need. We're often given soulmates and friends and whatnot to help us on this journey, and they don't always have to be twin flames.
The latest person in my life who actually had an open ear and a curiosity, and also the ability to understand, believe it or not, was a workmate. Somebody who you wouldn't normally breathe the word twin flames at work, because then you'd just be getting yourself ostracized. But no, this person I could go ahead and say, oh, Angie and I did another one of our videos, and this is kind of the stuff we talked about, and he's totally open to listening, and it was very interesting. And I never knew right off the bat that this person would even have an inkling in that direction, but turns out he's quite a spiritual person himself.
Yep.
You never know.
You never know.
So point number 10. I'm going to let Angie speak more on this one, because she's got more experience with this than I do.
This is actually a question that's going to be in one of our future question and answer videos, and I've had this come up so many times that I thought this was a perfect one to fit into this video. So the
question is,
the misconception question is that you have to be vegan or vegetarian in order to come into union with your twin flame.
Okay, I'd like to comment first. I am neither, and unless something really goes horrible, I will be neither. I made it to union. In fact, I'm almost the opposite. I'm kind of a meatitarian. If I don't have meat sometime in my day, I'm almost distressed.
A meatitarian.
Carnivore? I work with cars. I don't eat cars.
There we go. So the clarity is that you do not have to have a specific diet. You don't have to live your life a specific way in order to come into union. If you remember what union is really about, it's about helping the planet with the ascension and helping humanity with the ascension. So being vegan and or vegetarian is kind of sometimes a byproduct. You naturally will gravitate towards that because as we ascend, our bodies get lighter and we can't handle some dense foods. And that again is not everybody. I mean, it's not like I'm ascending and Rob's not. We just have very different bodies. Again, because he is the matrix twin, he's the 3D twin. He is very earthly, very grounded, so his body is able to handle a lot more dense foods that mine is not. So I have become vegan and mostly vegetarian, not by choice, not because I thought it would get me to union, simply because my body has said I can't eat those foods and I get sick if I eat those foods. But it is not at all a requirement for union. It's not like you have to change your diet. You know, so many people think, okay, I have to do this and I have to do this and I have to heal this and I have to stop eating that. There is nothing that you have to do. Union happens when union happens, and it happens again for not just your own purposes as a couple, it happens for the bigger perspective of the whole planet, right? We're all lights and we're lighting up the grid. So our time for union happens when it's supposed to, when our grid point is meant to be lit up.
I will concede, and the word isn't begrudgingly, I'll just concede with grace that likely being more vegetarian towards vegan, whatever, is probably a higher vibrational place to be in relation to how you would be with the planet. I'm not going to deny that. I'll probably humbly accept that. And if you feel that that is better for you, absolutely go ahead, do that.
Totally.
But as a requirement for going to union, I don't think that I would call that a requirement. It might assist, it might not. Everybody's situation's a little bit different. But yeah, for union, probably not going to significantly help. Unless, of course, you find out your twin's gone completely vegan and they might respect you more for that, but that's a very three-dimensional way of looking at that.
Yeah, you always have to honor your own. If
Yeah.
you know, some bodies are made up differently and they quite honestly need meat. And again, we're just going to ask people if you don't resonate with that. Some people are very, you know, intense that no, meat is wrong and eating animals is wrong. And I respect that. And we're also asking that you respect other people's opinions. Some people do eat meat, and they're, you know, to each his own. We're all here to honor each other and honor ourselves on our own journey. So it's knowing that you have to do what's right for you, whether it's right for somebody else or not, that doesn't matter. That's part of coming into your own union, is honoring the self.
So,
are we ready for point number 11?
point number 11.
Oh yeah, okay, thank you for the reminder.
Point number 11. We got to get our props out again.
Okay, you go ahead while I prop up.
Okay. Point number 11. Well, the lighter is not working.
That's because we left it outside while we went inside to warm up.
Yeah, we just froze our lighter. Oh, we want
okay.
to light our candle.
We have another one.
Yeah, not as if it'll work any better.
We
I got it lit.
Oh, look at you.
We're delighted about the lighting. Okay, now. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Hang on. How about you do this?
Okay.
I've warmed up the lighter.
Oh, goody.
It's going to take us a minute just to light candles. We're not even going to get to our point in a minute.
Well, you go ahead with the point while I...
The misconception is that you can light a candle when it's -5 outside. No, actually that isn't it. The misconception is that you must be in union with your twin flame to start your mission. Wow. there's lots of people that are on their own singular missions. I'm surprised it isn't burning your fingertip.
Don't burn the paper.
Then again, I'm not going to burn the paper. There's lots of people who are on their own, who have not made it to union, that have already started their own mission because they feel it's important to. Now, your mission, when you get together with your twin, may continue on exactly the way it is, or you may take on a second wave of mission that is more linked to a commonality with your twin, or maybe the two of you get together and leave the path that you were on because it's no longer required and start your own mission together. But just because you're not in union doesn't mean you can't be on a mission of some type already.
And the point is, remember again what the bigger perspective of twin flames is. We are one of many different beings here to assist with the ascension. So the whole point of being and existing on this planet right now, whether it is with your twin physically or not, is to share your light. You're here to share your light. So you don't need your twin. Going back to the very first point, you are a whole individual by yourself. You don't need your twin in order to share your light with the planet. So just by existing, just by being, you are on your mission. And you might have a stronger mission. You might feel called to do readings or coachings or guidance or whatever. I mean, your mission can even be working at a grocery store and being a teller and sharing your light with every person. So as you can see, you don't need your twin flame. You don't need to be in union to do that.
Good old-fashioned positivity. Just being a
Yes.
positive person within your community. That can be lots of mission all on its own, because people do recognize when they've come across someone who is genuinely happy, not just happy because they're supposed to be because they're at work or something. When you meet someone who's genuinely positive and genuinely happy, it gives you hope that you can be there yourself.
Yeah.
And those people, they're spreading their light.
Yeah.
And if that's your light, you can share that too.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, light, I could light me up with just my candle.
There we go.
We could do that. Oh, of course, I just breathed on my candle by talking and blew it out.
So to finish, we wanted to share some light with you to give you hope.
You better share your light.
Even though we only have one light, we're still two.
Oh, you just about laughed out yours too. That'd be all funny.
All right, so I think it's time to say goodnight before we blow out both of our lights and we're completely in the dark.
Yes, and by the way, it is very true. We are still outside. We haven't just stepped into a dark closet to finish it off to make it look like nighttime. We've come back outside.
Yes, we have. All right, we love you guys. We hope this has been helpful. And we will be back next month with another 11 video.
We'll be back in month 12 with our 11th one.
That's right.
All right. Have a good month.
Bye.
Bye.